At my sister's baby shower, I gave her a hand-crocheted blanket I spent months making. She opened it, wrinkled her nose, and said loudly, "Homemade stuff is so tacky." Everyone laughed. My hands shook as I picked up the wrapping paper. 2 years later, that same blanket was the only thing that could save her child's life, and she had to beg me for it. I'm 34, divorced, live in Toledo, Ohio. I work at the main library downtown. My life is pretty quiet. I read a lot, I like quiet mornings, and most nights I crochet. It's something I picked up during my divorce. My ex left me with nothing but debt and a garage full of lies. I needed something to keep my hands busy. Crocheting started as a way to pass the time, but I got good at it. Real good. I even sell pieces online under a little shop name, nothing big, but it brings in a bit of extra money. My younger sister Janie is the opposite of me. Loud. Social. Always in a new outfit. Always posting on social media about some mommy wine night or fitness routine she's trying. She married up, or so she tells everyone. Her husband makes good money. They live in a fancy house in the suburbs, and everything in her life looks like it was pulled from Pinterest. 2 years ago, she got pregnant. Everyone was thrilled. Our mom went nuts with excitement. Baby showers, registries, diaper cakes, all of it. I decided I wanted to make something from the heart. I didn't have a lot of money, but I had skill and time. I started crocheting a baby blanket the day after she announced her pregnancy. It took me almost 3 months. I bought special yarn, hypoallergenic, soft, all natural. It cost me more than I should have spent, but I wanted it to be perfect. I added little stars and clouds into the stitching. Every night after work, I'd sit on my couch and work on it. I thought maybe it'd become one of those things she'd save forever. Maybe her son would pass it down to his own kids. Her baby shower was held in a rented hall with white tablecloths and a balloon arch. She had a gift table overflowing with brand names, everything from Pottery Barn to boutique items from stores I'd never even heard of. I felt out of place. Her friends looked like they came from a different world. I watched her open each gift, squealing and thanking people with hugs and laughter. Then she got to mine. I felt my heart beating faster. She tore off the wrapping, pulled out the tissue paper, and unfolded the blanket. She stared at it for a second, holding it up. Then she wrinkled her nose. She said, loud enough for everyone to hear, "Homemade stuff is so tacky." And then she laughed. Right there in front of everyone. Her friends joined in. One of them said, "That looks like something my aunt made back in the 80s. Another said, "Does anyone even use these anymore?" Someone took a picture of her holding it up. I saw it on Facebook later that night, buried between all the thank you posts. I stood there, frozen. I didn't say a word. My hands were shaking. I bent down to pick up the wrapping paper, mostly just to have something to do. I wanted to disappear. Janie didn't even say thank you. I left early. Told her I had a headache. Drove home in silence. When I got back to my apartment, I cried harder than I had in years. I kept that blanket. I picked it up off the table when no one was looking and stuffed it back in my bag. She didn't want it? Fine. I'd keep it. I didn't go to her baby's christening. I wasn't invited to his first birthday either. She never once brought up the blanket again. For a long time, we barely spoke. Fast forward almost 2 years. Her son Carter is almost 2 now. He's a cute kid, I'll admit. I'd see pictures sometimes when my mom would forward them. Janie and I still weren't close, and I stopped trying. Then last fall, Carter got sick. RSV, then pneumonia. He ended up in the hospital for over a week. Janie posted constantly, "Pray for Carter, please donate, help us cover medical costs." I didn't comment. I didn't text. I just watched. After he got out of the hospital, he developed a rare skin condition. Some sort of hypersensitivity. The doctors weren't sure what triggered it. All they knew was that his skin reacted badly to almost everything. He'd break out in hives when touched by most fabric synthetics, even some organic cottons. He couldn't sleep. He'd cry for hours. Nothing helped. Then one night, around 9 p.m., I heard a knock at my door. It was Janie. Her eyes were puffy. She looked exhausted. She held her phone in one hand, like she'd been texting me but gave up. "I know this is weird," she said, voice shaky. "But, do you still have that blanket?" I didn't answer right away. She stepped forward, like she was afraid I'd slam the door. "He can't sleep. He screams all night. We've tried everything. The doctor said he might tolerate certain natural fibers if they're untreated, and I remembered what you said. That yarn. You said it was hypoallergenic, right?" I just stared at her. I wanted to say no. I wanted to slam the door in her face and tell her to go to hell. Instead I said, "You called it tacky." She blinked. "I didn't mean that. You laughed at me. In front of everyone." "I know," she said. Her voice cracked. "I was awful. I'm sorry. I was trying to be funny. I thought people would think it was cute. I wasn't thinking." She looked like she was about to cry. I let her in. I went to my closet, pulled out the blanket. I'd kept it wrapped in the same tissue paper. I hadn't touched it since that day. She took it in her hands like it was a fragile piece of glass. She started crying. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. "Please, let me try. Just for tonight." I gave it to her. She left without another word. The next morning, she texted me. "He slept. All night. No hives. No itching. He clung to it like it was magic." Then she posted about it on Facebook. "My sister made this hand-crocheted blanket years ago, and it's the only thing that's helped Carter sleep through the night. It's handmade, hypoallergenic, and full of love. Sometimes the things we overlook end up being the most important." Now everyone wanted one. Her friends messaged me. She tagged my shop page. Orders started coming in. I was booked out within weeks. Janie begged me to make more. I told her I was too busy. But I still crochet every night. And every time I loop that yarn through my fingers, I remember the look on her face that night at my door. She needed me. She needed the thing she once laughed at. And she had to beg for it. After that post went up, everything shifted. Suddenly, people who hadn't spoken to me in years were reaching out. Old classmates, coworkers, even moms from Janie's neighborhood. Everyone wanted a miracle blanket. Some were offering to pay triple if I could rush it. I was getting PayPal payments before I even said yes. I didn't reply to most of them. What people didn't know was I never made another blanket like that one. That yarn came from a woman at a craft fair who'd since stopped selling. I only had one skein left, and it wasn't enough to make a full blanket. Janie texted almost every day now. "Can you please make another one? My friend's baby has eczema and nothing works. You'd make a fortune if you just did a few a week." She even had the nerve to ask, "Do you want to go in on a business together? We could brand it as Healing Crochet. Natural Touch or something." I stared at the message for a long time before responding. No, that was it. Just no. A week later, our mom called me. She sounded worried. "Did you tell Janie she can't have another blanket?" "Yeah, Mom, I did." She sighed. "She's been crying again. She said you're being selfish. That Carter needs a backup one in case something happens to the first." I almost laughed. She had no use for it 2 years ago. "That was different," Mom said. "She was young and dumb. But things change." I stayed quiet. Mom added, she's talking about trying to make one herself. She bought some yarn and needles. That surprised me. Janie couldn't sit still for 5 minutes, let alone learn a craft that takes months of practice. But the twist came a few days later. A woman named Rachel messaged me on Facebook. "Hey. I bought one of your blankets from Janie for $250. My baby loves it. Do you do custom colors?" I stared at the message for a full minute. I never sold Rachel a blanket. I didn't even know who she was. I messaged back. "Can you send me a picture?" What she sent made my stomach drop. It was my blanket. Carter's blanket. The original. The stars. The clouds. The stitch pattern. The blanket Janie said was the only thing her son could sleep with. The one she begged for. She'd sold it. I didn't reply. I couldn't. Instead, I picked up my phone and called her. Straight to voicemail. I texted, "Where is Carter's blanket?" She didn't respond for 2 hours. When she finally did, it was short, "He outgrew it. Thought someone else could use it." Don't be dramatic. I wanted to scream. I wanted to drive to her house and rip her porch railing off with my bare hands. She sold the blanket. The one she humiliated me over, then begged me for. She sold it like it was just another piece of junk from her garage. I didn't reply. But something changed in me that day. She wasn't just selfish. She was dangerous. And she didn't deserve another stitch of kindness from me. A week after I found out she sold the blanket, I did something I didn't think I'd ever do. I drove to the address the woman had used when she messaged me, the one she gave when she asked about custom colors. She had no idea I was coming. But I had to see it for myself. I had to know that Carter's blanket was still out there, still real. That I hadn't imagined it all. Rachel lived in Sylvania, just outside Toledo. Nice neighborhood. 2-story houses with flagpoles and flower beds. I sat in my car for 5 minutes before I knocked on her door. She answered with a baby on her hip and looked confused. "Hi," I said, "sorry to drop by like this. I'm the one who made that blanket you bought from Janie." Her eyes widened. "Oh my God, you made it," she said, stepping aside to let me in. "It's amazing. My son sleeps with it every night. That thing is magic." She brought me to the nursery. There it was. Folded neatly in the crib, the stars and clouds still perfectly intact. "Would you mind if I held it for a second?" I asked. Of course. I held the blanket in my hands again. It was like holding a piece of myself. Rachel must have sensed something was off. She told me it was a custom order, she said. Said she worked with a local artisan who's super private and hard to reach. She lied, I said. That wasn't an order. That was a gift. And it wasn't hers to sell. Rachel looked horrified. I had no idea. I'm so sorry. I wouldn't have, it's not your fault, I said, folding the blanket carefully. You didn't do anything wrong. Then something occurred to me. If your son depends on this now, would you mind if I make you another one? Same design. Free of charge. This one wasn't meant to leave the family. She didn't even hesitate. Of course. If it means that much, I understand. Thank you. I walked out with the blanket tucked under my arm. By the time I got home, Janie had called 6 times. She must have heard. When I finally answered, her voice came through the speaker like a blade. Did you go to Rachel's house? Did you take the blanket? I did. You had no right. That wasn't yours anymore. It was never yours. You're insane, she spat. You don't understand how hard things have been for us. You sold the only thing that helped your son. For what? Shopping money? She didn't respond. Then she hung up. I thought that was it. But I was wrong. 3 days later, I got a letter. From a lawyer. Janie was threatening to sue me. She claimed I stole property from her friend. That I had broken into someone's home and taken a valuable item without consent. She even attached a screenshot of the Facebook message I'd sent to Rachel. I read the letter 3 times. My heart pounded in my ears. She was serious. She was going to drag this into court. All over a blanket she once laughed at. That's when I knew this wasn't just about the blanket anymore. It was about pride. Hers. And mine. And I was done staying quiet. I stared at the lawyer's letter for a long time. I wasn't scared. I was furious. She laughed at my work. Begged for it. Sold it. Then tried to sue me when I took it back. I wasn't letting her win. I contacted Rachel that same night. I told her everything about the blanket being a gift, the baby shower, the way Janie humiliated me. Rachel was pissed. She said, "Tell her to bring it. I'll testify. She sold me something that wasn't hers." You're doing the right thing. I didn't have much money for a lawyer, but I didn't need one yet. I wrote a reply myself. Simple and clear. The item in question was a handmade, one-of-a-kind gift that was never sold or given to Janie with the intention of resale. I retrieved it from the current holder with her full knowledge and permission. Your claims are invalid. Any further threats will be considered harassment. I sent it certified. I wanted proof she got it. I didn't hear back from her or the lawyer for weeks. But she wasn't done. A month later, I got a knock at my door. This time it wasn't Janie. It was CPS. Child Protective Services. Someone had anonymously reported me for neglect and unsafe home conditions, saying I was making blankets in a filthy, rodent-infested environment and selling them as medical items without proper safety checks. My hands went cold. The agent was polite but firm. She asked to look around. I let her. I had nothing to hide. My place was spotless. No kids lived there, and my crochet space was cleaner than most doctors' offices. She left after 10 minutes, shaking her head. "Sorry to bother you," she said. "Honestly, it sounds like someone's trying to mess with you." I knew who it was. Janie was trying to ruin me. She couldn't take the fact that she lost. That I got the blanket back. That people still wanted my work, not her name attached to it. So I went public. I wrote a long post and put it on my shop's page. Then I posted it on my personal Facebook, Instagram, even a crochet forum I moderate. I laid it all out, how I spent 3 months making a baby blanket for my sister's first child. How she laughed at it in front of a room full of people. How she came back crying 2 years later because it was the only thing that helped her sick baby sleep. How she sold it behind my back for profit. And how she tried to sue me when I took it back. I didn't name her directly. But people knew. They remembered the baby shower. They remembered the photos. And Rachel confirmed everything in the comments. It blew up. The post got shared hundreds of times. I started getting messages from strangers, some praising me, others telling me they'd been through similar betrayals. And then something unexpected happened. Janie's husband reached out. He sent me an email. I didn't know she sold it. I didn't know about the lawsuit. I didn't even know she called CPS. I'm so sorry. This has gotten out of hand. 2 days later, he moved out of their house. Took Carter with him. Turns out, he'd seen enough. He told our mom later that Janie was obsessed with control, obsessed with appearances, and had been manipulating everyone for years. Janie lost everything. Her husband. Her online following. Her fake little brand. People stopped inviting her to playgroups and events. No one wanted to be associated with the woman who sold her sick kid's comfort item and then tried to ruin her own sister's life over it. As for me, I kept crocheting. I kept selling. But I never made another star and cloud blanket again. That design is retired. Rachel still has the original. She sends me a Christmas card every year with a picture of her son and a little note that says, "Still his favorite." Sometimes revenge isn't loud. It doesn't have to be cruel or mean. Sometimes it's as quiet as a needle pulling thread. And as satisfying as watching someone lose everything they once mocked you for. Even me, I made mistakes too. I should have said something at the baby shower. I should have stood up for myself sooner. But I stayed quiet. I swallowed it. And it festered. That's on me. But in the end, I didn't need to scream. She destroyed herself. All I did was hand her the first thread.